So, how been ya? Welcome to the Black Country Craftsman's YouTube channel. Today we're going to take a look at removing this water stain from this Artex ceiling. Now, there isn't any damage to the Artex as such. In this case, it's just a redecoration that's needed. This has been caused by a water leak from the tank above in the loft space, and it has been fixed. Working in the new build side of construction, this is very common, unfortunately, as leaks do happen. With the plasterboard being very porous, the water can soak in very quickly, and if you do have a problem like this, put a small hole in the centre of the stain to stop the water spreading and damaging the plaster. If you can catch the leak quickly, as in this case, the plasterboard remains okay and undamaged, with only the brown stain to remove. Firstly, we need to protect the carpets, as any paint spills will damage the floor. You will need dust sheets, paintbrush, a 4-inch roller, a larger roller, some stain block paint, some white matte paint, and a small step ladder. Right, back to the stain. If you just paint over the stain in normal matte paint, the stain will never cover and will always show back through. So we have to paint the stain with a stain block, which is a waterproof paint. Stain block paints are widely available in all paint suppliers. They come in a few bases, from oil base to shellac based. You can even use an oil-based undercoat, which works perfectly as a stain block. The idea is to seal the stain, again with a waterproof paint, to stop the stain from returning. Using a brush, paint the stain, and I tend to stipple the brush to remove the brush marks, as brush marks tend to stand out, and I must admit it's one of my pet hates. If you have to do this on just a basic flat ceiling, you can use a small roller if you prefer. And when the stain is fully covered and there's no brown marks left, just allow it to dry. Using a small roller, start to cover the stain so the stain block paint is covered by about 6 inches. As you can see in the light, there is the stain blocked area that's shiny and still wet. Around the edge of the stain, the 6-inch area where you painted is soaked into the Artex very quickly. Again, this is due to the Artex being very porous and it dries. With the stain block being waterproof, the paint sits on the surface for quite some time before it dries. A while later, you can see that the paint on the stain blocked area is slowly starting to dry. Leaving it a little longer, the majority of the area is dry. You can still see that there is still a few more wet areas. This last one, as you can see, it's totally dry. The reason I've shown you this process is it's essential you allow the area to totally dry, as if you apply any more paint on top of the area that's still wet, you will slowly pull the paint off that protected area, and the areas that you've painted around it will still build up the coats, which will then you will leave a crater effect, which will look very unsightly. As we're painting in the walls later, it doesn't matter about cutting in on the ceiling area. So using a brush, paint the corners, spreading the paint out, trying not to leave any brush marks on the wall. Using a small roller, paint about 6 inches in from the wall. This helps remove any brush marks that you may have occurred from when you brushed the paint on in the corners. Now using a larger roller, completely paint the whole ceiling. Okay, the ceiling's completely painted. Around the stain blocked area, you can clearly see the paint is still wet and sitting on the surface. Again, completely allow this to dry. This will always happen every time that you redecorate over this area in the future. Just remember, allow it to completely dry before you apply the next coat. All done, as good as new. As we say in the Black Country, that's busted. Okay, if you've enjoyed this video, smash us a like, drop us a comment below and we'll do our best to reply. And please click on subscribe as I do plan to put more videos on in the future. I'm the Black Country Craftsman. Don't forget to tell your muckers. Learning how to fix these problems yourself is cheaper than paying someone else to do it for you. Thanks for watching.